John Preston was a man of power. As the CEO of one of the largest companies in the city, he had everything most people dream of. His office was in a skyscraper that touched the clouds, his bank account had more zeros than he could count, and his name was known across the world. But despite all his success, there was a hole inside of him that nothing seemed to fill. Every day, John would wake up at the same time, put on his expensive suit, and drive to work in his sleek black car. He would spend hours in meetings, signing deals, and making important decisions. On the surface, everything seemed perfect. But deep down, John felt alone. He had no family. His wife had left him years ago, taking their child with her. He hadn't seen his daughter in months. She had grown up without him, and now, at 10 years old, she had no interest in having him in her life. He couldn't blame her. He had been too focused on his career, and now he was paying the price. At night, when the office was quiet, John would sit by his window and look out at the city below. The bright lights of the street seemed to mock him. Everyone was out there, living their lives, enjoying the company of friends and family. Meanwhile, he sat alone in his luxurious office, the emptiness surrounding him like a heavy fog. The silence in his life was deafening. The more he worked, the more he realized that all the money and power in the world couldn't replace the love and connection he so desperately needed. He had everything, yet nothing at all. The thought haunted him every night as he lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. John wasn't used to feeling sorry for himself. He was a man of action, a problem solver. But no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't fix the loneliness that gnawed at him. He couldn't fix the fact that he had pushed everyone away in pursuit of success. He couldn't fix the relationship with his daughter that seemed beyond repair. He couldn't fix the empty seat at his dinner table. One afternoon, John was sitting in a meeting with his senior management team. They were discussing the company's latest project, a new product that was expected to make millions. John's mind wasn't fully on the meeting, though. He kept looking at the clock, counting down the minutes until he could leave the office and head home to his empty apartment. He was tired of the constant grind, the never-ending cycle of work, meetings, and deals. He longed for something more, something real. As the meeting went on, John's mind wandered to his childhood. He remembered the days when he would spend time with his parents, laughing and playing games together. He had been a happy child, full of hope and wonder. But that had been before the pressure of adulthood had taken over. That had been before he lost himself in the pursuit of success. Back then, he had dreams of being a dancer. His mother used to tell him that he had a natural rhythm, a grace that would make him a great performer. But somewhere along the way, those dreams had faded, buried beneath the weight of responsibility and ambition. The meeting finally ended, and John left the conference room. He walked through the halls of his office building, nodding politely at the staff who passed by him. They all respected him, but none of them knew the real John Preston. None of them knew how lonely he was. John had no plans for the evening. He didn't feel like going home to his apartment, where the silence would swallow him whole. He decided to attend a charity event for children with disabilities. It was a cause he had supported for years, but he didn't go to these events with any real intention of connecting with anyone. He simply showed up because it was expected of him. The event was held at a grand hotel downtown, with elegant decorations and a large crowd of people mingling and chatting. John felt out of place. The laughter and conversation around him only reminded him of how isolated he had become. He made his way through the crowd, shaking hands with a few important people, exchanging pleasantries, but he didn't stay long. He was ready to leave, to retreat back into his cold, empty life. Just as he was about to exit the ballroom, he noticed a little girl sitting by herself in a wheelchair. Her name was Emily, and she was gazing out at the dance floor with wide eyes. Her wheelchair didn't seem to stop her from taking in the sights and sounds of the event. She wore a sweet smile on her face, but John could tell that she was alone. Her parents were nowhere to be seen. Something about her caught John's attention. He didn't know what it was. Maybe it was her innocence, or maybe it was the way she looked at the world as though it was still full of possibility. She didn't seem to have the same heaviness that he carried. She seemed free, in a way he hadn't felt in years. He hesitated for a moment, then walked over to her. She looked up at him and smiled. "Hi," she said softly. "Hello," John replied, his voice warm but unsure. "Are you enjoying the event?" Emily nodded. "I like the music," she said. "I wish I could dance." John's heart sank. He could see the longing in her eyes, the desire to be a part of something more. He had the sudden urge to make her dream come true, to help her experience something she had always wanted. Without thinking, he bent down to her level and asked, "Would you like me to teach you to dance?" Emily's eyes lit up. "You can teach me." John nodded, surprised at his own words. "Of course, I can." For the first time in a long time, John felt a spark of something real. Something outside of business deals and office meetings. In that moment, he realized that maybe he wasn't as alone as he thought. Maybe, just maybe, teaching this little girl to dance could be the thing that helped him find his way back to himself. John was surprised by the request. It felt strange, yet it was one of those moments that made him pause and think. He had never really thought about dancing in years. The last time he had danced was when he was a teenager, before life and work took over. But here was Emily, sitting in her wheelchair, asking him to teach her how to dance, and suddenly, dancing didn't seem like something from the past. It felt like something possible, something worth trying. "Of course," John said, smiling at her. "I'll teach you." Emily's face brightened with excitement. She clapped her hands, her eyes sparkling with joy. "Really? Oh, thank you." John stood up straight and looked around. The music from the event was playing softly, a light, slow melody that filled the room. It wasn't exactly the kind of music for dancing, but it was a start. "Let's find a quiet spot," he suggested, glancing over at the corner of the ballroom. "It'll be easier there." With that, he gently guided Emily in her wheelchair toward the corner of the room where the music was less distracting. As they reached the quieter area, Emily looked up at him with eager anticipation. "So, what do I do?" she asked, her voice filled with curiosity. John chuckled softly. He didn't know what to say. He hadn't taught anyone to dance in years. But something about Emily made him want to try. He took a deep breath and knelt down beside her wheelchair. He began by explaining the rhythm of the music to her. "Dancing is all about feeling the music," he said. "You don't have to move too much at first. Just feel the beat." Emily nodded, listening carefully, her eyes never leaving him. John's hands hovered for a moment before he reached out to show her how to tap her feet gently to the rhythm. "See? It's all about timing. The music has a flow to it. You just need to catch it," he said, moving his own feet slowly, demonstrating what he meant. Emily followed along, tapping her feet in rhythm with the music. She grinned. "This is fun," she exclaimed, clearly enjoying herself. John felt a sense of satisfaction he hadn't experienced in a long time. Teaching Emily felt different from anything he had ever done at work. There were no meetings, no deadlines, no pressure to succeed. It was just the two of them, and in that moment, John realized how much he missed this kind of connection. "Now, let's try something else," John said, standing up. "I'm going to show you how to move with the rhythm, even if you're sitting down." He looked at her and smiled. "Dancing doesn't always mean you have to stand up. You can dance right from here." Emily looked up at him, her face full of curiosity. "How?" she asked. John demonstrated, shifting his shoulders to the rhythm and moving his arms gently in time with the beat. You can move your arms, shift your shoulders, or even just sway a little. Emily watched him closely. She hesitated at first, then slowly began to move her arms in time with the music. Her movements were shy at first, but she began to relax as she gained confidence. Good. That's it. John encouraged her. You're doing great, Emily. Emily beamed with happiness. I can feel the music now, she said, her face lighting up with a smile that made John's heart swell. He couldn't remember the last time he had seen someone so genuinely happy over something so simple. They continued like this for a while, with John showing Emily more and more movements. They kept the movements slow and simple, but for Emily, it was a breakthrough. She was learning to express herself through the music, and each little movement was a victory. For John, it was also a moment of self-discovery. He wasn't just teaching Emily to dance, he was reconnecting with something he had long forgotten. As they spent more time together, John began to feel something shift inside him. He wasn't just helping Emily, she was helping him too. She was teaching him to be present, to slow down, and to appreciate the small joys in life. In the hustle of his business world, he had forgotten what it felt like to just enjoy the moment. But here, with Emily, he could feel it again. As the evening went on, the event began to wind down. People started to leave, and the music slowed down, signaling that the night was coming to an end. But Emily wasn't ready to stop. She kept moving, her arms swaying gently to the music, her smile growing wider with every beat. John couldn't help but watch her. She was amazing. Despite her wheelchair, despite everything she had been through in her life, she was full of joy. She didn't let anything stop her from dancing in her own way. And that made John think about his own life. He had everything he could possibly want: wealth, power, success, but he had forgotten how to enjoy life. He had been so caught up in his work and the expectations of others that he had forgotten how to truly live. Watching Emily dance in her wheelchair, he realized that it wasn't about what you had, but how you made the most of what you were given. Emily had found her rhythm, and she was dancing to the beat of her own life. Thank you, John, Emily said, breaking his thoughts. This was the best day ever. John smiled warmly, feeling a lump form in his throat. You're welcome, Emily, he said softly. You're a natural dancer. For a moment, the world outside seemed to disappear. There was no business to worry about, no meetings to attend, just this simple, beautiful moment between him and Emily. It was a moment he wouldn't forget. It reminded him that life wasn't about chasing success, but about the connections we make, the joy we share, and the music that keeps us moving forward. As the night came to an end, John wheeled Emily back to her parents, who were waiting for her. He said his goodbyes, but in his heart, something had changed. He realized that teaching Emily how to dance wasn't just a gift for her, it was a gift for him too. And maybe, just maybe, this was the start of something new in the days that followed. John couldn't stop thinking about Emily. He found himself recalling the way she had smiled when she moved her arms to the music, how her face lit up with joy, and how she had never once let her wheelchair stop her from enjoying herself. It was a reminder that life, no matter how challenging, could still be beautiful, and that joy could be found in the simplest of moments. John had been caught up in the idea of success for so long that he had forgotten the importance of those little moments. But with Emily, he was seeing life in a whole new way. As the weeks passed, John made a habit of visiting Emily. He didn't always know why, but something about their time together felt right. Maybe it was because he was helping her learn to dance, or perhaps it was simply because he had never had a genuine connection like this before. Whatever the reason, John began looking forward to those quiet afternoons, when it was just the two of them, practicing dance in the corner of the room. Emily was getting better. She was learning how to move her body with more confidence, and her movements were becoming more fluid. John was amazed at how quickly she had picked it up. He had expected to teach her the basics over weeks or even months, but instead, she was starting to master some of the more intricate moves. She would laugh as she made small mistakes, but she never gave up. "Let's try something new today," John suggested one afternoon. "What do you have in mind?" Emily asked, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. "I was thinking we could try a little waltz," John said, raising his eyebrows. "You're ready for it?" "A waltz?" Emily repeated, excited. "That sounds so fancy." "It's not as hard as it sounds," John assured her. "The waltz is all about the rhythm and the flow. It's graceful, but it's really just about finding your own rhythm, like we've been practicing." They started slow. John explained how to move with the music, teaching her the basic steps. Emily followed his instructions carefully, her movements a little unsure at first, but gradually becoming more confident as she gained comfort with the rhythm. As they danced, John couldn't help but notice how much she had improved. It was as if she had unlocked a new side of herself through their lessons. "Look at you!" John exclaimed after a while, watching her glide along in her wheelchair. "You're doing it." Emily smiled proudly, feeling a sense of accomplishment. "I'm really dancing, aren't I?" she said, laughing. "You sure are," John said, his voice filled with admiration. "You're a natural." For the first time in years, John felt truly alive. His busy work life, the pressures of running a company, the endless meetings, none of that seemed to matter when he was with Emily. In her presence, he realized that what he had been chasing for so long, success, recognition, wealth, wasn't the key to happiness. Happiness, he was learning, was found in the simple moments, in connecting with others, and in doing things that brought joy to the heart. As the days turned into weeks, John and Emily's bond grew stronger. They spent more time together outside of the lessons, talking about their lives. Emily would tell him about her dreams of traveling the world and seeing places she had only ever read about in books. John would listen attentively, fascinated by her optimism and determination despite her physical challenges. One afternoon, as they were finishing up a dance session, Emily asked him a question that caught him off guard. "John, why do you always seem so sad when you're not here with me?" she asked, her voice filled with genuine concern. "You seem happy when we're dancing, but when you leave, you look sad again." John felt a lump form in his throat. He hadn't realized how much of his sadness was visible to others, especially to someone as young and innocent as Emily. He paused, unsure of how to answer. He had always tried to keep his emotions buried, but Emily's honesty made him want to open up. "I guess I've been alone for a long time," John said, looking down at his shoes. "I've been so busy with work that I forgot how to connect with people. I don't know how to fix it. I just feel like I've missed out on so much. I've lost touch with the things that really matter." Emily listened intently, her eyes full of understanding. "But you're here with me now, right? And you're teaching me to dance. That's really special," she said, her words soft but wise for someone so young. John looked at her, surprised by her insight. "You're right," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "I guess I've been looking for happiness in all the wrong places." "You don't have to look very far," Emily said with a smile. "Sometimes, happiness is just about being with the right people." John felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. Emily had shown him something he hadn't realized he was missing, the importance of human connection. He had been so focused on success and achievement that he had forgotten the value of simply being present, of spending time with others, of sharing moments of joy. And now, with Emily, he was rediscovering that. Over the next few weeks, John's visits to Emily became a regular part of his schedule. He made a conscious effort to spend more time with her, not just teaching her to dance, but simply talking with her, listening to her dreams, and laughing together. With each visit, John felt himself opening up more, sharing parts of his life he had kept hidden for so long. In return, Emily shared her hopes and fears, her love of dance, and her belief that anything was possible, no matter the obstacles. As Emily's dance skills improved, John began to think about the bigger picture. He realized that he didn't just want to teach her to dance, he wanted to help her achieve her dreams. He wanted to give her the tools to pursue whatever made her happy, whether it was dance, travel, or anything else. He started thinking about ways he could make a real difference in her life, beyond their dance lessons. One day, as they finished up a particularly fun session, John looked at Emily and said, "What would you think about performing in front of an audience? I think you're ready for it." Emily's face lit up. "You mean like, on a stage?" John nodded. "Why not? You've got the talent, and I think the world needs to see it." Emily's eyes grew wide with excitement. "That sounds amazing. But I'm a little nervous," she admitted. "Everyone gets nervous before they perform," John said, reassuring her. "But you've got this. I'll be right there with you." For the first time, Emily's dream of dancing in front of others didn't seem so far away. She had John by her side, and together, they were going to make that dream come true. And for John, this moment, this simple gesture of encouragement, made him realize that maybe, just maybe, he was starting to find the meaning in life he had been searching for all along. As the weeks passed, John and Emily's bond deepened. They had come a long way since that first day when John had reluctantly agreed to teach her to dance. Now, their lessons had turned into something more meaningful than just practicing steps to music. They had become a part of each other's lives. John had never expected a simple request from a little girl to have such a profound impact on his own life. Emily, in many ways, had become his anchor, reminding him of the simple joys he had forgotten. Emily's enthusiasm and energy seemed endless, and it was contagious. Even when John felt overwhelmed by the demands of his high-pressure job, he would look forward to his time with her. Their dance lessons had become a refuge, a space where John could forget about the stresses of the world. Emily never judged him for his mistakes or his moments of vulnerability. She simply accepted him, and in her eyes, he saw the possibility of a new start. One afternoon, as they sat together after a particularly fun dance practice, Emily's excitement was practically bubbling over. She had been talking non-stop about her upcoming performance. John had promised her that they would put together a small showcase for friends and family, a chance for her to share what she had learned. Emily had been working hard to prepare for the performance, and it was clear that this was a dream coming true for her. "John, do you think they'll like it?" she asked, looking up at him with her big, hopeful eyes. John smiled and patted her hand. "I think they'll love it, Emily. You've come such a long way, and I know you're going to shine out there." "Do you think it's going to be like a real stage?" she asked, her voice filled with curiosity and excitement. "Of course," John replied. "We'll make it just like a real performance. The spotlight, the audience, everything." Emily grinned. "I can't wait. I'm so nervous, but I think I'm ready." John's heart swelled with pride. He had seen Emily grow so much in such a short time. She had gone from someone unsure of her own abilities to a confident young girl who was about to step onto a stage in front of an audience. It wasn't just her dancing that had improved, it was her entire outlook on life. She had learned to believe in herself, and that, John realized, was the most important thing of all. As the day of the performance drew closer, John became more and more excited for Emily. He knew how much this meant to her, and he wanted everything to be perfect. He had taken care of the details, making sure the event would be special. A small stage had been set up at the local community center, and invitations had been sent out to close friends and family. John even arranged for a few media people to attend. He wanted Emily's performance to be seen by a wider audience. He knew that her talent and determination deserved recognition. But as the day approached, John found himself feeling nervous in a way he hadn't expected. He had been so focused on Emily's performance and ensuring that everything went smoothly that he hadn't thought much about his own role in it. Now, as the event was about to take place, he realized that this performance was as much about him as it was about Emily. John had learned something important over the past few weeks. It wasn't just about teaching Emily to dance. It was about learning to open himself up again, to reconnect with the world and with people. He had spent so much of his life being closed off and guarded, but Emily had shown him that it was okay to be vulnerable, to share his emotions. The day of the performance arrived, and John found himself pacing around the community center. The stage was set, the lights were dimmed, and everything was ready. But he felt a sense of nervousness in his chest. Emily was getting ready in the dressing room, putting on her costume and preparing herself for what would be her first real performance. John wanted to be there for her, to support her, but he also realized that this moment was more than just about teaching dance. It was about being part of something meaningful, about witnessing a moment of transformation. When it was finally time for the performance to begin, John stood backstage, watching Emily as she rolled out onto the stage. The audience was quiet, waiting for her to begin. Emily took a deep breath, and with a glance at John, she began to dance. The music played, and Emily's movements filled the stage with a grace that took everyone's breath away. She moved with confidence and beauty, her body flowing in perfect harmony with the rhythm of the music. John watched in awe, realizing that this moment, this performance, was a celebration of everything Emily had accomplished. As she danced, John felt a tear slip down his cheek. He wasn't sure why he was crying. Maybe it was the pride he felt for Emily, or perhaps it was the realization that he had witnessed something beautiful and pure. In that moment, he knew that he had been part of something far greater than just teaching a little girl to dance. He had been part of a journey, her journey, and his own. When the music came to an end, the room erupted in applause. Emily smiled, her face glowing with happiness. John clapped loudly, his heart full of pride. He was so proud of her, of everything she had accomplished. He knew that this was just the beginning for Emily. She had found her passion, and she had learned that she could achieve anything she set her mind to. After the performance, Emily was surrounded by family and friends, all congratulating her and telling her how amazing she had been. John stood quietly off to the side, watching her enjoy the attention. He didn't need the praise. Seeing Emily so happy was enough. He had seen her transform from a shy, uncertain girl into someone who was confident and full of life. It was a transformation that he had played a small part in, but it was also a transformation that had changed him. Later that night, as the crowd began to leave, John sat down with Emily. "You were amazing," he told her, his voice filled with admiration. "I couldn't have done it without you," Emily said, her voice soft. "You helped me believe in myself." John smiled, his heart swelling with emotion. "No, Emily," he said gently. "You did all the hard work. You're the one who believed in yourself." For a moment, they sat in silence, both of them reflecting on the journey they had shared. John knew that this was one of the most important moments of his life. He had come to realize that success wasn't about power, money, or recognition. It was about the relationships we build, the people we help, and the joy we bring to others. In teaching Emily to dance, he had rediscovered something he had lost, the ability to truly connect with another person. As he looked at Emily, he realized that his life had changed forever. And for the first time in a long time, he felt truly happy, knowing that he had made a difference in someone's life. He had taught Emily how to dance, but she had taught him how to live. The weeks following Emily's performance were filled with a new sense of energy for both John and her. John had always lived his life with purpose, but now, that purpose had shifted. He had learned something fundamental that he had long forgotten. Life wasn't just about business meetings, conference calls, or corporate achievements. Life was about connection, kindness, and the ability to see the beauty in the simplest moments. Emily, for her part, had continued to thrive. She had shown the world her talent, and in doing so, she had opened doors for herself that she never thought possible. The applause and praise she received after her performance had not only filled her with joy, but it had also strengthened her confidence. She was no longer just a girl in a wheelchair, she was a dancer, someone who had something to offer the world. Her dreams no longer felt distant, they were right within her grasp. John couldn't help but smile every time he saw her, now a more confident and radiant young girl than when they had first met. He'd seen her grow in ways he never imagined. Her strength and determination had given him new insight into his own life, into his own strengths and weaknesses. He realized that he had been holding back for so long, too afraid to step out of his comfort zone and embrace the unknown. Emily had shown him that it was okay to take risks, to put yourself out there, and to believe in the possibility of change. One evening, as they were sitting on the steps outside the community center after one of their lessons, Emily spoke up. "John," she began, her voice thoughtful, "do you ever think about what you want to do with your life now?" John was surprised by the question. He had always been focused on his work, on what he was supposed to do to build his company, to achieve more success. He had never really asked himself what he wanted from life. "I've been thinking about it, actually," John admitted. "Before I met you, I never really gave myself the chance to think about what I actually wanted. I just worked and worked, thinking that success would make me happy. But now, I see that it's more than just business. It's about the people around me, the connections we make, and the joy we bring into each other's lives." Emily smiled, her eyes wide with understanding. "You've already done so much, John. You've helped me so much. Maybe it's time to help others too." John nodded slowly. "I think you're right, Emily. Maybe it's time I do more than just run a company. Maybe I should use what I've learned to give back, to help others discover their own potential." They sat in silence for a few moments, watching the sun begin to set in the distance. The sky was painted with shades of orange and pink, and the world around them seemed to slow down for just a brief moment. John felt at peace in a way he hadn't in years. He realized that in teaching Emily how to dance, he had discovered his own rhythm again. He had found a new sense of purpose that wasn't tied to his work or his wealth. It was about making a difference in people's lives, no matter how big or small. A few weeks later, John made a decision. He began using his resources to help young people, particularly those with disabilities, pursue their dreams, just as Emily had done. He set up scholarships, created opportunities for young dancers, and supported various charities that focused on giving people a chance to reach their full potential. He started working with local organizations, offering mentorship to those who needed guidance. He also began speaking at schools and events, sharing his story about the importance of finding one's own path and embracing the possibilities life had to offer. As he embarked on this new journey, John realized that he had found something far more valuable than all the business deals he had signed in the past. He had found fulfillment. He had discovered that the true reward in life wasn't money or power, but the joy of helping others grow and find happiness. Emily, of course, was thrilled with John's new path. She saw the changes in him. He was no longer the lonely, distant CEO she had first met. Now, he was a mentor, a guide, and a friend. She knew that he had learned something invaluable, something that would stay with him for the rest of his life. She was proud of him, just as proud as he was of her. One afternoon, Emily sat beside John in his office, watching him as he worked on a new project for one of the charities he had started. She had been coming by to help him with some of the work, and he enjoyed having her around. It reminded him of their early days together, when they had simply danced in the quiet corner of the ballroom. "John," Emily said, breaking his concentration, "I'm really proud of you. You've done so much for people. I think you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do now. John smiled and looked at her. Thanks, Emily. But I think you're the one who taught me what it means to live fully. You're the one who showed me that anything is possible. Emily laughed softly, her eyes twinkling. I'm just a girl in a wheelchair who likes to dance, she said modestly. John shook his head. No, Emily, you're much more than that. You're someone who has the courage to dream, even when the world says you can't. You've taught me more than you'll ever know. As they sat together, John felt a deep sense of gratitude. He had spent so many years thinking that success was about climbing the corporate ladder and accumulating wealth. But now he realized that success wasn't about what you had, but what you gave to the world. It was about the lives you touched, the people you helped, and the love and kindness you shared. The sun was setting once again, casting a warm glow over the city. For the first time in a long time, John felt at peace. He had found his true purpose in life, and he knew that it was to help others find theirs. With Emily by his side, he had discovered a new world of possibilities. And as he looked ahead, he knew that there was so much more to come. Together, they had changed each other's lives. Together, they had learned that sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is the belief that they can achieve anything. And John knew, with certainty, that no matter where life took him next, he would always carry that lesson with him. Because sometimes, it's not about finding the right path. Sometimes, it's about dancing through life, one step at a time.